Dave Ramsey will go, have you lost your mind? Like, this is insanity. And I'm like, why?
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Rise, Grind, Repeat. On today's episode, we talk to Aaron, who owns a few different businesses. We talk about how planning and consistency has led him to grow and build multiple successful businesses. Let's dive right in. Really appreciate the time and joining me on another episode of Rise, Grind, Repeat. I mean, like I said, our whole goal is to just uncover what it is that you've done to grow your business where it's at and just get some insight into how you've kind of done a little bit of rising, grinding, and repeating on that end. And so, I mean, without further ado, would love to just hear your background story. You know, what's a little bit about you? How'd you get into the entrepreneurial life?
Oh, well, thank you, Dustin, for having me on. I appreciate that. You know, I got to take you way back because I'm a lot older than you. I could be your father, right? And so I've got to go way back if we could. When I was 13 years old, my dad woke me up on an August morning and he said, hey, do you want to go help me? Actually, it was in June. He said, hey, do you want to come and help me for the summer? And I said, can I make any money? And he said, yeah, you can. I said, I'm in. Just point me in the right direction. And we remodeled a pawn shop. I'd never even heard of a pawn shop. And so we went and turned this beauty salon into a pawn shop in Nashville, Tennessee. And at the end of it, when we got finished, I went up to the owner and I said, hey, I go to school just down the street. And after school, I would love to come here and work. And he said, what would you do? And I said, I will sweep, I'll clean up, I'll wipe these showcases off, I'll carry out the trash. I don't care. I just want to make some money. And I go to school down the street. I can be here at like 2:30 in the afternoon. He said, you're hired. And I said, well, that's the shortest interview in history. So Dustin, I started working for $1.70 an hour. And this was in 1974. Okay. So I thought I had died and gone to heaven, $1.70 an hour. And I worked for 2.5 hours every day. And then fast forward about 3 years, I was 16 years old. I decided that's what I wanted to do for a living. And you're like, are you kidding me? No, I love the people. I love being there and I love dealing with the different merchandise. And I love being there. So I went to summer school and night school for 18 months. And I had enough credits to graduate high school at the beginning of my junior year in high school. And so I started working every day. When I was 18 years old, I met two guys with a lot of money because I didn't have any. And we went into business for ourselves. And so I owned a third of a pawn shop and got married a year later when Robin got out of high school. And so I said, Robin, we may never get this chance again. So I said, we're going to pour all the money that we've borrowed back into the business, and we're going to pay off this loan as soon as possible. So we had a 10-year loan. It was $150,000. And in the 70s, that was a lot of money. And I said, we're not going to take it 10 years. We're going to pay it off as soon as we can. And Dustin, I paid that loan off in 36 months. So I was 21 years old. I had a paid for pawn shop and I said, I'll do it again. And I did. And I bought another store. We did it again. And then I did it again. And then I did it again. And I kept doing it until I had something that a Fortune 500 in Fort Worth, Texas wanted to buy. I was 27 years old. 9 years later, they made me an offer I couldn't refuse. And so I sold the business and I retired. And so I was 27 years old. I went from literally no money to being able to retire when I was 27. Well, I thought that was going to be amazing. And it was for about 36 months. And so I was getting fat and lazy. I wasn't doing anything. Actually, it wasn't 36 months. It was about 18 months. About 18 months later.
About a year and a half.
Yeah, about a year and a half later, I was getting fat. I gained 50 pounds. I was getting in the bed in the middle of the day. Well, I won't take you through all the businesses, but my wife suggested I go back, and I did. I bought the pawn shop I started with, and we grew it about 4 times the size over the next 10 years. And then my life really started August 1st, 2001. I was headed to work, and I ran over and killed a pedestrian on my way to the office, and my life really come to a screeching halt. And I took 5 years off. I didn't do anything for 5 years. I sold the business and got my legs back under me. And then we went in the construction business, had a very successful construction business. And then when I turned 50, 10 years ago, I retired for the third time. My wife said I've retired more than the law allows. And at the time, I was in a mastermind with Dave Ramsey and Dan Miller and Ken Abraham, some of those guys you may or may not recognize. But they said, what are you going to do now? And I said, I'm going to go to the Caribbean and hang out on St. John, and I'm going to rock myself into an oblivion. And Dan Miller leaned over the table. He said, that's the most selfish thing I've ever heard you say. And I just laughed, and I said, I've been working since I was 13. And I'm tired. I'm 50 now. I'm ready to retire. And he said, no, you need to coach. And I said, man, I'm not coaching. Dave Ramsey said, come do Entree Leadership Mastery on me. And it'll be my gift to you. And if you enjoy it, then we'll talk more about it. So I did that. I fell in love with it. Went to Dan Miller's at the Sanctuary and did Innovate, which is a coaching program. And Dan texted me on my way home, and he said, Big A, they were leaning in, listening to your stories. That shows you that you have something to say and you need to coach. Well, a couple of years later, I started View from the Top, and I started coaching two guys, one in Stephenville, Texas, one in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I loved it. And I started doing podcast interviews, and I was on John Lee Dumas' show, Entrepreneur on Fire, and we immediately blew up. I had 15 one-on-one coaching clients, and it about killed me. It about killed me. And so I said, I'm going to start a mastermind because I know how to do it. I've been doing it forever with Dave Ramsey. And so I started Iron Sharpens Iron Mastermind Group, and we're about to launch our 19th mastermind group. We have almost 200 members now, and we're in 9 different countries around the world. And so we're getting a chance to help ordinary people become extraordinary in all they do. And we've got nothing but high hopes and aspirations for the future to help other people really gain a life of success and significance as they go forward on this thing we call life.
That is absolutely amazing. I mean, it's you've done quite a bit. It's really cool. I mean, Dave Ramsey, love him. I mean, connected on his money makeover before I got married, and I mean, it's done a world of great. So I mean, I huge proponent of everything that you just mentioned. But has it been more fulfilling doing the coaching than anything else that you've ever done?
Yeah, well, here's the thing is we've owned 14 businesses over the course of 41 years. So just over 4 decades, we've owned 14 businesses. And View from the Top, which is the parent company of what I own now, is the most gratifying and rewarding thing I've ever done in my entire career. And the reason is because what my legacy would have been in 2001 when I ran over and killed the pedestrian, had I gotten killed that day, my legacy would have been poor kid from Nashville makes enough money to retire at 27 and no one cares. That's what my legacy would have been. What I want my legacy to be is Dustin's life is better as a result of having known me. And that's what I want my legacy to be. I want to help other people. I want to encourage other people. And that's been the most rewarding thing, is seeing the transformation in the lives of our members, because they're better husbands, they're better dads, they're better women, they're better mothers, they're better wives. They're just better people all around, and not just financially, but in a transformative state significantly, because that's what really matters in our life, is the significance. When my dad died in 2006, he never made over $15,000 a year in his life, but there was a hour and a half wait to get in to see the family. And it was for 6.5 hours. The line went out the door, through the parking lot, and around the building. And my dad's life had transformed other people's lives. You would have loved my dad if you'd have met my dad. He was the kind of guy that everybody wanted to be around because he cared about you. And so it really taught me a valuable lesson is that people are not interested in the things that you have. What people are interested in is the impact that you make on their lives. And so that's what we've been able to do in the lives of people today, is to say, hey, it's those relationships that really matter. It's not that you've got a big car and a fancy house. And we had all those things. We had a place on the beach and in the mountains and all that, but nobody cared about any of that. The truth is, nobody cares about your stuff. All people care about is the difference that your life makes on them. And so what we teach people to do now very proactively is to build these relationships so that you can have an impact.
That's amazing. I mean, how much better is it waking up and going to quote unquote work when you're doing something that you're absolutely passionate about?
Yeah, well, I get up every morning and, I'm getting older now. I'll be 60 on my next birthday. And physically, I feel a little bit now. But emotionally and mentally, I'm stronger than I've ever been as it relates to helping other people achieve their goals and dreams. And the thing is if we quit trying to make the sale and we just try to add value, the sales come. We had our best year I've ever had last year out of all the businesses I've ever owned. And we're more focused on other people now than we've ever been in our entire career. And so if we can adopt that same strategy in everything that you do, if you could really focus on how to add value to other people and really think, how can I connect Dustin to somebody else? How can I help promote him? How can I advertise for him? And let me give you some examples. So this online space is pretty new for me. I was 35 years in bricks and mortar. So all the things that we did wasn't online. So when somebody told me to get on a podcast, I said, I'm happy to do that. What is a podcast? And they're like, you don't know what a podcast is? I said, I'd never even heard of a podcast, right? This was 6 years ago. I'd never even heard of a podcast. Well, to date, I've done over 2,000 podcast interviews in the past 6 years. And I just learned what works and we doubled down on doing that. And so we're sharing our message, we're promoting, we're helping other people understand how they too can take their life to the next new level. And so we're constantly connecting people, building these relationships. And that's what we're teaching people to do in every industry around the world now that has this online capabilities. And so in our Iron Sharpens Iron Mastermind, it's kind of like a board of directors. It's having your own non-biased, trusted advisors that can really help you see your blind spots and your kryptonite, your superpowers, and your Achilles heel. It's all the things that we need to pay attention to, yet we don't know. But when we're in these small groups and these groups, what we call mastermind groups, when we're in those groups, it helps me point out and say, Dustin, you have superpowers in this area, but you're really lacking over here. This is an area that's going to cost you big time if you don't pay attention to it. And we really help you address that. Then there's upper limit challenges that you have. And Dustin, you've probably never done this, but I've laid in bed at night and thought, am I making a difference? What can I do to get on more shows? How can I promote other people? How can I be significant in their life? And these voices go, you're not any good. Listen to this Southern accent that you've got, and you didn't go to college. You just went to high school. And what have you got to add? And then this other voice goes, no, man, you've had experience and you can do this. I had to push through those upper limit challenges. And when I tell my mastermind group these things, they help me push me through that upper limit challenge. And so we all have that, and we're designed to be in community. Isolation is the enemy to excellence. And unless that we can get people around us, we'll never fully mature to the person that we were created to be, because we were designed to be in community. And that's the reason I'm such an advocate today for mastermind groups.
I absolutely love every word that you just said. I mean, just getting perspective from other people. I mean, when you look in, it's you're always doing everything right. I mean, that when you're running a business, you're doing everything that you think is right, and getting that outside perspective is so big, especially when it comes to identifying not only your strengths, but the weaknesses where there's opportunity and maybe doing a little bit better. But everything that you just mentioned, I mean, this is why, I mean, I grew up playing baseball, so the importance of a team is huge. I mean, I always went to teammates first when it's like, hey, that was a great game, but what are some of the innings or pitches that I didn't do as well? And whenever you get someone's outside perspective, it helps you focus on what you should be focusing on and just getting more strengths. And so when it comes to masterminds, it seems like having that accountability and that outside perspective is just tremendous value. Is that the biggest value that you see, or why are masterminds so important in your eyes?
Yeah, well, the thing you just pointed out is probably one of the biggest assets as far as I'm concerned, and it's perspective, because you don't know what you don't know. Mm-hmm. We recently did a construction project at my house, and I stood out in our front lawn and I looked at the house, and we were doing an addition, and there was a construction issue that we couldn't resolve. And so we had general contractors, architects, vendors, the carpenter. We had everybody looking at this project. Nobody could solve it. Nobody could solve the problem. And I'm like, dang, what am I paying y'all all this money for if we can't solve this problem? So 2 weeks later, I was sitting on my patio behind the house and I was on a coaching call and I looked up at the problem and Dustin, I solved it immediately. You know why? We were looking at it from the wrong perspective. I needed a different angle in order to look at it. If I hadn't have looked at it from that perspective, I wouldn't have fix the problem. That's the same way in mastermind groups. See, we're so close to the bottle, we can't read the label, right? And when you have other people that are around you saying, you need to try this, you need to stop this, it needs to be better here, you know, you've only got one filter. You've only got one life experience. You can't see things differently, even if you wanted to, because you've got to have trusted advisors around you that don't have any dog in the hunt, that will give you the truth. I've had so many ideas, Dustin, and I'm sure you're like me. When I get out of the shower, I've got 3 new ideas every day. I'm like, I need a whiteboard in my steam room, you know, so I can whiteboard stuff. And I go to the mastermind group and I'll go, hey, let me tell you what I'm thinking. And Dan Miller will go, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of in my life. Or Dave Ramsey will go, have you lost your mind? Like, this is insanity. And I'm like, why? And they'll give me the reasons and I'll go, I didn't even know that. How did you know that? And they say, because I've done this or this, and this is the way it proves out. Or I would have an idea and they would go, wait a minute, if you would tweak that a little bit, if you would do this instead of that, I think you may be onto something. And I'm like, how do I tweak that? See, here's the thing. I'll ask a million questions, right? Because I know I don't know everything. Now, here's the thing. When I was in the jewelry business years ago, I went to the Gemological Institute of America, and I've studied diamonds for the most part of my career. And I know more about diamonds than 99% of the average population. But the truth is, I know enough to know I only know a fraction of what there is to know, right? And that's the way it is with other things. We only know enough to get us a certain point. Somebody else's perspective opens up a whole new door and gives us a whole new perspective, which sheds light on the situation we've got, and we're able to 10x by using that. But if I hadn't have been in that group, I would have gone down a different path. So the mastermind groups are so beneficial for so many reasons. The accountability is another thing. Procrastination is our biggest enemy. We kick the can down the road, and when we're alone and we don't have people around us, we're like, nobody knows anyway. I'll just put that off till next week. And then next week gets here and life happens and you have another emergency and you're like, well, next month will be okay. Next quarter will be okay. Next thing you know, it's next year. So we've procrastinated. But when I stand up before the group and I want to share an exercise with your audience, I think will be very beneficial. That's really helped take my life to the next level. And I'll share that in a moment. But the thing is that Rory Vaden is a friend of mine, and he wrote a book called Procrastinate on Purpose. And what we need to do is prioritize our priorities. We need to say, these are the 5 things that are the most important in my life. And I need to spend an inordinate amount of time on those 5 things. Brian Moran owns the 12-week year. He's a friend of mine, and we've adopted the 12-week year strategy. And so what we do is we focus on the task for the goal that we want to complete. We forget the goal and we only focus on the task, and we do what's called lead indicators, and we follow those lead indicators. Well, then there's lag indicators, which is the revenue, of course. But when we focus on those lead indicators and we do it consistently every single day, the goal will take care of itself, right? We need to focus on the task every single day. So here's the thing. I did an exercise with my mastermind group called Come As You Will Be in 2020. And what that means is 5 years ago in 2015, I stood before my mastermind group and I said, here's what I said. I am Aaron Walker. It's the year 2020, and I have 10 mastermind groups. I'm going to be making this much money this year. I was speaking 5 years ahead, and I'll be driving this kind of car, et cetera, et cetera. And I told exactly what my life looked like in 2020. We wrote the vision down. I wrote it down because the scripture teaches us where there is no vision, the people perish. So you've got to write your vision down. Well, here we are 5 years later. I've still got 6 months left in 2020. 2020. Do you remember what I said? I said, I'll have 6 mastermind groups this year, 2020. We're about to launch our 19th mastermind group. I've doubled what my goal was in 2015. My salary this past year was double what I had anticipated. The best year I've ever had. You know why? I wrote it down and I shared it with my mastermind group. You know why? For accountability. If I hadn't have done that, I promise you I wouldn't be launching our 19th mastermind group today. I promise you I wouldn't have doubled my income. I didn't want to be a loser. I didn't want to go in my mastermind group and go, I'm a loser. I didn't want to do that. And your audience doesn't need to do that either. What you need to do is be vulnerable and accountable and transparent and authentic in front of your group and go, this is what I'm going to accomplish. Now you back up and you implement the 12-week year and you follow the task every single day to accomplish your goal in a 12-week period. See, because if you look at it linearly and you look at it annually, it takes much more time to accomplish your goal. But if you condense that down into 12 weeks and you have smaller goals that you can follow the task every day, you get to the end. We grow 35% every year. And we do that by implementing this strategy. So that's another reason, Dustin, that we need to have mastermind groups, people surrounding us for the accountability.
No, that's huge. So with the 19 mastermind groups, I mean, how many people are involved?
Yeah, we have 10 people in every group.
Okay, so you went from 2 to 190. I mean, that's huge. What are some of the things that you've done to grow? I mean, it sounds like, I mean, you know a lot in terms of just building a business, but what are some from a tactical perspective that really helped you grow the awareness? I mean, I know you mentioned 2,000 podcasts. I mean, has it been going on the podcast? Has it been through marketing or just boots on the ground?
Great question. So it was me by myself initially when I first started. I had to figure this thing out. Now we have a 10-person team. And so we have 5 VAs in the Philippines, and then we have 5 here in the U.S. that we work with on a daily basis. Consistency is absolutely 100% your friend. And if you're not going to do it consistently every single day, don't even start doing it. And if you're not willing to allocate 2 years to doing anything, don't even start doing it, because it takes time to get the momentum. Right. But once you reach a critical mass, you have the momentum. Now it's like a train, right? It gets going faster and faster downhill, like a snowball, right? Gathering steam. Well, we do and started out doing blogs at the very beginning. When you Googled Aaron Walker 7 years ago, you couldn't find me with a search warrant online. I didn't exist. But you Google Aaron Walker now, and I'm on the first 10 pages. Okay. And the reason is because of our consistency. I do 4 Facebook Lives every week. I do at least 200 interviews every single year. Now we have, I don't want to get too technical, and I'm sure your audience is very technical, but there's something that we missed originally that I didn't realize the value. I have been a guest on that many interviews. I've done a lot of interviews myself, but I've been a guest 2,000 times in the past 6 years. Wow. There's great search engine optimization value in the show notes. You see, we missed that originally because all these show notes have my name and links, and that. So now there's SEO value for that. The other thing is people don't realize is when I do Facebook Lives, I use our keywords, and there's a certain amount of keywords that I'm always trying to rank for. Well, the reason I do that is because when we upload that video on YouTube, YouTube transcribes it automatically. Now there's SEO value to the words that you use in video. And a lot of people miss that. They don't realize that video has SEO value when it's uploaded on YouTube because they transcribe it. And so now Google has that as another place to search. The other thing is the blogs. We've written hundreds, if not thousands of blogs using our keywords that we're trying to rank for. And there's about 200 words that we use, but there's about a dozen that are really key words that we're using consistently that we're now ranking for because we're constantly using those. I do an Alexa brief every single day.
I'm loving it.
Yeah, we load those, and I'm doing those. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram, and I had to do all that initially myself, but now we have VAs that do that. I have team members that are constantly posting things. And so it's just developing your system and being consistent. And listen, Dustin, to be honest, I get tired. You know, I'm almost 60 years old now, and we've been working for a long time, and I go home at night and I'm spent sometimes, but I don't want to be the guy that doesn't put out everything I got. It would kill me to lay in bed thinking, would it have worked? And I'm like, nothing works unless you work it, and you've got to have a plan. And we have a very systematic plan. We have a content calendar, and I know exactly what I'm going to be doing. I have every Facebook Live title already created for the remainder of 2020. And we're just in June 1st, and I do 4 a week, and I've got every title of every one through the remainder of the year. I know every book and theme that we're going to do in our mastermind groups through January 2021. I know the speakers I'm going to be interviewing. I know the shows that I'm going to be a guest on, but it's a lot of work, and a lot of people don't want to do that level of work. But if you're going to be successful, you got to have a written plan.
I absolutely love that. I mean, it's the main reason why we started a podcast. I mean, one, to offer value to people that might not have the budget to work with an advertising agency, but our thoughts were, one, we're giving valuable pieces of information, which then on YouTube we'll transcribe it, but the SEO side of it, so we'll get awareness there. I love that you're doing that. I mean, we've kind of offered that as a service to clients as well, where kind of write the blogs, get them on video, but there's so much opportunity, one, on the SEO perspective, but the listenership, I mean, just is growing through the roof. We do something live called Entrepreneurs every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and one of the topics today was just how much podcast listenership has blown through the roof in the last 12 months. I love everything you're doing. I mean, it sounds like planning is a huge part of your success, which you got to plan your success. Is there any time where that plan might deviate? I mean, say COVID comes around and you've already planned for this time.
So absolutely. You got to be willing to be able to pivot. Right? I mean, if you don't pivot, but here's the thing, we don't fall to the level of the lack of goals. We fall to the level of our systems. And if you don't have systems and processes in place, that's where you're going to fail. And if you're ever going to scale, you've got to have adequate systems and processes in place in order to do that. But a very unwise person will follow the plan if his whole world blows up in front of him. You've got to be willing to pivot and change, and we do that. Without a question, we do that. But where I find more problem than not is nobody has a plan. They just get up every day. See, I know what I'm going to be doing every day. We do blocks of time, and I'll sit and I'll do a month's worth of Alexa briefs in half a day, and then I'm done for the day. I mean, done for the month. I've already completed those, right? Same way with our blogs. I've already got emails written out through October of 2020. And every week I do these emails. I've already got those written out. Now, if things really change, I'll have to go back and adapt those and change them. But see, I'm about to take 2 weeks off. It's my 40th wedding anniversary, and I'll never miss a beat because I've planned so far in advance. We've got everything in place. Nobody will even recognize that I'm not there. I'll continue right on because we've planned. And see, the thing is we don't allocate enough time to plan where we want to go. The other thing is most people don't know what they want in life. I wrote a document called What Do I Want? And most people want bigger, better, shinier, faster. They just give me more. Well, that's not necessarily maybe what's best for you. And maybe you don't really need more of a certain thing. And so I created that document. Everyone's welcome to go to viewfromthetop.com. You can download that document for free. But the thing is we have to ask ourselves, how much money do we want to make? Do we want an occupation that is you're able to do from any location, or do you want a bricks and mortar location? You know, do you want to give away money to charity? How much money do you want to make? And what are you going to do with the money once you get the money? It's like, I'm going to do, well, you know, if you don't have a plan, it'll find a place to go, right? And so we very much know the relationships that we want to have, how much money we want to make, where we want to go, the vacations that we want to take, the people that we want to help. It's very specific. Like, I don't need to make X dollars because it doesn't fit in my vision. This is the amount that I need to make. And we're out here spewing around like a bottle rocket without a stick on it. You know, we just have no sense of direction whatsoever. And that's not going to serve you well long term if you don't have a mission, vision, and values. And we have all that in writing. I know exactly in writing, and I view it often. I go back and say, is this task going to help get me closer to my vision? If it doesn't, then I'm not going to do it. But if it's going to help me accomplish my vision, I will. The other thing is core values. If you don't know what your core values are and you don't have a mission statement, why are you even doing what you're doing to begin with? Is it just to make more money? Let me just tell your audience something. Money doesn't scratch the itch like you think it's going to scratch the itch. Like, it's nice to make money, and I hate it when people with money go, money's not important. I want to go, you liar. You're a deadgum liar. It's very important. We need it. We need money. There's nothing wrong with making money. I love to make money, but I have a specific use for it. I know what I'm going to do with it. See, I own the money. The money doesn't own me. Money's not my God. Money is a tool that I use to live the life that I've created to live. That's the reason I want to make money, not just for the sake of having more money, but in order to do it properly, we have to have core values. We have to have a mission, right? My mission is to help ordinary men become extraordinary in all they do. Well, if I didn't have that mission, I would just be out here to have more tangible possessions. And, the moth is going to rust and destroy those tangible possessions. What is important is your integrity. What's important is your character. What is important is the relationships you're building. What is important is the significance that you bring to the table, not just your success. It's okay to have success, but let's have a measure of significance with it also. Because the only thing you're really going to leave behind is going to be memories of people. And what are they going to remember you for? Dustin just did this, or he only was concerned about himself, or no, man, my life was better because of Dustin. He breathed life into me. He was a champion. He was there to help me. He was there to encourage me. He made a difference in my life. See, it's the legacy that I'm interested in at this point in my life. And I want your audience to be interested in those things also.
And I love everything. I mean, we've been working on ours for the last 2 years, continually trying to figure it out. Been maybe not too bold to share what the vision is, because it's a little bit bigger than I think what
you need to share it, man. You need to share it. You need to get on here on this microphone. You need to share your vision with all your audience, right? The people perish where there is no vision.
Exactly.
And you've got to share your vision. Man, we have got so many plans for Iron Sharpens Iron, the mastermind groups. We're about to create a whole nother division with 15 more groups in it. You know why? It's not just for the revenue, although the revenue's a part of it, but people's lives are changing because they're a member of that mastermind group. They're better husbands. They're better wives in our women's division now. We just created a women's division, and their life is changing radically. They're better dads. They're better husbands. They're better community leaders. They're better to their employees. It's just we're created an environment and a culture that is like, hey, man, let's go for it. Hammer down, pedal to the metal. That's the kind of guy I am. I hate complacency. I love contentment. I want to be content, but I never want to be complacent. I always want to be doing better, because that's the way we were created, to excel at this life. I don't want to live mediocrity. I don't want to live in the middle. I'd just be average. You know what average means? It means you're just as close to the bottom as you are the top. I don't want to live average. I want to live above average, and you can't do that alone, and you can't do that without a plan.
Yep. No, I hear you. And I mean, something we've been talking about internally is just changing family trees through digital communication, both on the consumer side and all that. And it's just haven't really roared it because I don't know, just it's not so much the embarrassment or whatever, but that vision might be too large that you can actually accomplish. And so I think to your point, it's just a matter of needing to just say it more often, say it louder, say it more frequently.
Dustin, hold on. You know what you just said? If I put that out there and I don't accomplish it, people are going to think I failed.
Yeah.
That's what you just said. But the truth is if you don't put it out there, you're not going to give all your gusto to it. You're not going to give everything you had. And even if you don't accomplish it to the level that you have described, I promise you, you'll be far greater ahead than you would be without casting the vision.
Yeah, I know you're correct there. And I think the hesitation is always, I mean, we're very data and analytics driven. And so saying something like that, it's not quantifiable through certain, all right, we changed this many lives. It's not quantifiable. And I think that's where the hesitation or the shyness or whatever it may be comes from. But I mean, I think it's just something that we need to continue to rally around internally. And like I said, just kind of roar it a bit louder.
Yeah. Martin Luther King was a great man. Do you agree? You agree he had a great vision? Do you agree he changed a lot of lives?
Absolutely.
How many lives did he change?
I knew you were going there. Don't know. It's not quantifiable, but it's a lot.
Okay, buddy. I can't wait to hear your vision.
Yeah, no, that helped a ton. And I mean, with that being said, obviously it's something that I've been working on, but I mean, how did you figure out your mission? I mean, what was that process like to sit down and just know what your vision, your mission and all that were? I mean, I agree that
Yeah,
100% of it just helps in the marketing. It helps communicate what it is that you're trying to do in the world. And I mean,
sure.
it just helps tremendously, but I think so many people struggle with that.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's because it changes. And when I was a young man like you, I didn't have it quite figured out either, to be honest with you, totally honest. I think our mission changes. I think our goals change. And I'll give you an example. And everyone, please take this in the context by which I'm saying it. I don't mean it boastful in any way. But when I first started, my main objective was to make money, right? That was my objective. I had a family, a new wife, two children. I wanted to make money. The other part that got me a little bit was ego and pride. I had an ego the size of a truck hood, I mean, it was huge. And so it about got me in trouble too, just to be honest with you. And so I was proving some things to some people. I wanted to prove that I could accomplish some things. And my identity got tied up into what I was doing. And when I was 27 years old, I sold out to a Fortune 500 company. You can imagine what that did to a kid that was poor 9 years before. And then I was 27, able to retire. And I became very condescending. I was very arrogant. I was very prideful. I was able to do pretty much whatever I wanted. And that almost got me in real trouble with my family. And I came home one day with a pocket full of money to a house full of strangers. And that's not going to serve you well, regardless of how much money you've got. If your family, if you do it at the expense of your family, then you're going to die a rich old man with no relationships. And that's not really what I wanted to do. And so it really about cost me my family because it was just another business or another $100,000 or give me a vacation home. And it was the Mercedes 300 turbo diesel, or it was the big house with the gate. It was all that stuff. And there again, don't hear me wrong. I'm not saying anything's wrong with stuff. I think stuff is good. And I like stuff and I like to have a nice house and those kind of things. But see, it owned me at the time. I didn't own it. I was a slave to those things. And when I would get the money or the new thing, it would be like, oh man, this is awesome. And it was for a little while. And then it was like, well, it's not doing it for me now. Like, what's the next thing? And that next thing would give you that hit of dopamine, and it would be like, well, see, nobody cared anything about what I had. Nobody was interested. Right. My family was the only one interested that I was making money. And today, though, people are very interested in what I'm doing because it's changing their life, not just mine. And that's the reason we need to be a giver, not a taker. We need to look outward and help other people. I'm a constant connector now. After that wreck in 2001, I killed a pedestrian. It changed my paradigm shift. It changed my focus. It let me realize that this time that we have on earth is temporal. And we need to do all we can do to live an adventuresome life. I'm Christian by faith, and so my faith is very important to me. And the way that I determine what I'm going to do in life is through prayer, through Bible study, and through the confirmation of the counsel of the multitudes, the people that I trust. And so that's the way that I discern the path that I'm going to go down personally. Some people may not be persons of faith, but that you asked me specifically what I do. That's how I determine what I want to do in my life. And so I think once we get our focus clearly established and we know that we're doing the right thing for the right reason, a lot of the pride subsides, a lot of the ego subsides. You're not trying to get just more tangible possessions to prove to other people that you can do it. Because let's be honest, people don't care anyway. They really don't. Right? Nobody cares what you have. Nobody cares that you have plenty of money or a sports car or a big house, place on the beach. Nobody really cares. The only thing people care about is how your life is going to impact theirs. That's what people are interested in. And when you really focus properly and you do things for the right reason, that comes back to you 100x. Because we spend so much time connecting other people, introducing and helping other people, we can't even be on all the shows that there is to be on. We can't answer all the emails that there is out there because people know I'm really interested in their well-being. And when people really know how much you care, they want to be around you. They want to be a part of your team. They want to be a part of your mastermind because their life now is going to be better as a result. And you've got all these givers helping, and it just takes your life to a new height.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. It's funny how so many people get caught up in doing things to make external people happy, and all those external people don't even care. So it's like one big rat race that we get caught up in. And I agree. I think finding your why, man, if you can communicate that and you're there to impact the world, other people, that the money is a byproduct. Money is a byproduct of you doing good. And so if the good runs your life, I mean, the money will come. And then, I mean, it's just, it's amazing just how much is done to try and impress others when others could care less.
Yeah, we try to impress people that really have no interest whatsoever.
Yep.
And buying possessions that really are not going to scratch the itch you think they're going to. My friend, Rabbi Daniel Lapin, wrote a book called Thou Shalt Prosper. And in this book, he talks about people paying you certificates of appreciation for a job well done. There just happens to be pictures of dead presidents on these certificates, and it's called money. And it's okay. We're doing a great service. We should be rewarded. A lot of people say, well, I don't do it for the money. Well, some of it you should be doing for the money because you can do great things with the money, long as your focus is in the right perspective.
Yep. No, I agree. And so as we kind of wrap up, I mean, you've done a ton when it comes to running a business, entrepreneurship. I mean, if there's anything that someone starting out or someone that's been doing it for a while, it's kind of hitting a plateau. I mean, what's the single biggest piece of advice that you can give anyone that's out there doing to maybe help them get to the next level?
A lot of people are going to push back from this, and that's okay, but I don't have any reason to tell you this if it weren't true. We get in the grind every single day, and we're doing these tasks that benefit us and our business. And I've found the most benefit out of promoting other people, connecting other people. When I first got into this space, I'd never heard of Michael Stelzner, social media marketing world. And so I went to it and I loved it. And so for the next 2 years, I started promoting it. I would get on Facebook Lives and I would promote it. I would write about it. And one day I get a phone call and it's from them. It says, man, you're promoting us. Would you like to be on a panel at Social Media Marketing World? I said, yeah, I'd love that. So I was with John Lee Dumas and a couple others, and I was on a panel. I kept promoting. I kept posting, this is the place to go. Michael runs a great, I didn't even know him.
That's
and
cool.
So then I get a call, says, hey, do you want to lead a session? Do you want to speak at Social Media Marketing World? Yes. Well, I could tell you that scenario over and over and over, where I spoke at, Podfest, and it just goes on and on. But it was because I was promoting Ray Edwards. I spoke at his event. Jeff Goins spoke at his event. It goes on and on, the places that I've spoke, and it all started with me promoting them first. And so if you will build into your time blocks, times to connect other people. Recently, this is another example, and I've done hundreds of these, thousands, maybe tens of thousands of I pick up my phone and I would just hit record and I would say, hey, I was on Rise, Grind, and Repeat with Dustin. Dustin was amazing. And Dustin, I just want to thank you for pouring into me. You offered so much great advice. Thank you. And I would send it to somebody, or I would even send it to you. And I do that all the time. I went in the bank the other day, and there was a young man in there that waited on me. Only about 6 months he's been at this bank. And he was incredible. His customer service was amazing. And I wanted to open 5 accounts. And I said, I want to open these 5 accounts. He said, Mr. Walker, that's going to take about an hour. He said, why don't you go back to your office? I'll get all the paperwork done. I'll call you when it's ready. You run in, sign, you can go right back to your office. You don't have to sit here and wait. And I said, would you really do that for me? He said, absolutely. His name's Cody. So I got back to my office with this backdrop you see, and I put my logo up on it, and I sit here and did a 2-minute video, and here's how the video went. Hey, my name is Aaron Walker. I'm president and founder of View from the Top, and I want to tell you I've experienced customer service today like I've never experienced it before. I went into Volunteer State Bank, and there's a young man named Cody, and I told the story, exactly what had happened. And I said, if y'all had more employees like this, your business would double. And I hit pause, saved it as an MP4 file, and I sent it to his regional director. The regional director sent it to the branch manager. The branch manager sent it to the president of the bank. The bank president called me and said, "This is unbelievable. No one's ever done this before." Well, I do that kind of stuff all the time. He said, "By the way, we're going to use this in our training manual. Do you mind if we use this video?" I said, "Absolutely." 2 weeks later, they called me up and they said, "Hey, we're going to do a commercial at our bank. Would you be our spokesperson and talk about our bank?" They sent their video crew to my office. We did a commercial. Listen, it all started out by me being generous, and I was giving an accolade to somebody that didn't ask for it. I do that all the time. And the dividends that I get back, you ask me what you can do. If you'll start thinking of other people and how you can promote them and give these accolades and do these videos and promote, you'll have so many people calling you, wanting to do things with you. You won't be able to handle all the people. And so be proactive, reach out. It'll pay huge dividends.
That has definitely been one of the biggest pieces of advice ever given. That's huge. I mean, it's usually tactical, super tactical, but I mean that right there is outside of marketing, that's just being a good human being.
Yeah, and it'll pay exponential benefits.
No, that is awesome. So I really appreciate your time. I mean, where can people find you? Who are your masterminds for? Would love to kind of let you promote yourself here.
Well, thank you, Dustin. I appreciate that. We just always come with an attitude of how we can help and serve. Thank you for allowing me a moment to share a little bit more about View from the Top. Mastermind groups, we're looking for entrepreneurs 27 to 65 years old. You can be emerging man from 20 to 25. We have a division for you. If you're a lady that really needs your life to go to the next level, we have Iron Sharpens Iron for women. Or if you're a man that you need help from 27 to 65 years old, we invite you into our legacy group. And we've had people in for 5 and 6 years now meeting in the same group, and their life is exponentially different and better as a result of having surrounded themselves with these trusted advisors. If you want to start your own mastermind group, or you've got experience with a mastermind group, we created the Mastermind Playbook, and you can find that at the mastermindplaybook.com. And it walks you through every step to how to create, maintain, and scale mastermind groups. And we leave nothing, no stone unturned, teaching you how to develop your own mastermind group. So, hey, Dustin, thanks for having me today. I really enjoyed being with you. And if I can be of service to your audience, please reach out to viewfromthetop.com.
Really appreciate it.
All right. See you, buddy.